looking for a robotic vacuum, this looks like a great deal. Lots of cool features, 30% off. Before you hit the buy button, don't do it. It's missing one essential feature that you must have. Let me explain what that is in this video. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology. I'm about to buy my 5th robotic vacuum. Yes, I could say I'm passionate about it, but I've learned a lot. And I want to tell you about the one essential feature that you must have before buying one. How did I get started on this journey? Well, let me tell you. I'm a senior and retired, living in my own home. Now, over the years, I've done the outside work, my wife has done the inside work, and we worked great as a team. She did the vacuuming, I did the lawn mowing. But in the last 3 years, particularly since COVID started, problems have arisen and she started to get arthritis, particularly in her left knee, and she's waiting for a joint replacement. So guess what? The vacuuming got relegated to me. Now, 3 years ago, vacuum cleaners weren't much interest to me. I am interested in technology, and it was when Huey and Bob, my co-hosts on our Monday show, got robotic vacuums and did a piece on it, I got interested, and oh man, has it changed my life. Yes. So I started my journey with robotic vacuums, and let me tell you what I found out. Now, I briefly would like to look at the history of these vacuums. Most of you probably are aware of a company called iRobot, and of course the popular vacuum called Roomba. Now, iRobot actually had its earliest beginnings in 1990 at MIT. And it was actually in 2005 when they produced their first commercial machine, which actually was a mopping machine. A couple of years later, they started their first product that was called Roomba. And this became, of course, the phenomenal success it has. The interesting thing that you should understand, though, it was sold initially in the United States with pretty good interest. Each year they had a modest growth and a very loyal group of fans. However, the vacuum was sold as well in Japan, China, Southeast Asia. Europe loved it. They sold lots in Europe, and also the Middle East. It became not so much just a USA success, but a global success. The company prospered and each year grew a little bit as it moved forward, but with a very loyal fan group. No competition. They were the only act at all. Can you imagine producing a car and having no competition? They had absolutely no competition until about 7 or 8 years ago, when another company called Shark decided to get into the robot vacuum business. And they did. And after a lot of hard work and some pretty good products, they were nibbling at the heels of the iRobot company. And they actually was able to garnish about a 15 to 20% market share. And today at Costco, if you look, you'll see, of course, you have the iRobot brand, and you'll have, of course, the Shark brand. Still very dominant players. But just before COVID happened, other companies around the world decided that this is a product that they could make some money on. And you saw an explosion of robotic vacuums come out. In other words, there are a lot of different companies now that all have robotic vacuums. So there are a lot of choices on the market today. We'll be going over some of those in the video. So when you go to decide what robotic vacuum you want, the selection is enormous. So how do you choose and how do you make your decision? My suggestion is there is a YouTube channel called Vacuum Wars, which I have found to be the absolute best. They've been doing this a very long time. They produce 2 videos a week and do great comparisons across platforms and also with different companies. They are truly the gold standard. There's a couple of other sites that are similar but not as good. Stay away from the thousands of mom and pop reviews where the vacuum company sends someone a vacuum to review. Those are generally a complete waste of time. I'll put the link to Vacuum Wars in the description below, but that would be my suggestion to try and choose a vacuum that you want. Now, of course, with the economy being down, interest rates being up, and all these vacuums around, it's never been a better time to buy one because there's incredible sales. As you saw on the one just above me here, 30% off, great machine, good company. Why would I not recommend you buy that vacuum? And we're going to talk about that next. All right, this is our master bedroom. This is the first robot vacuum I bought, and it was from iRobot, and it was a Roomba. It's built like a tank. You're probably going to bury it with me. It's going to last forever. You're going to see it working in our master bedroom doing the floors. In fact, this morning, my wife and I go for lunch. I set the fleet vacuums going in the house. We come back, it's all nicely cleaned. So let's have a look at our master bedroom. I want you to look around, and the first thing you'll see that there's some of the bedroom stuff on the top of the bed. Well, you do have to pick up a few things like carpets and we have a throw rug and things like that, so we put it on top of the bed. And if you look around our master bedroom, you'll also see the floor is clean. It's always better if you have a robotic vacuum, have your floors unobstructed. So we have made a concerted effort to get all that stuff off the floor, which really makes it a lot better. We use this only for our bedroom, and you're going to say, Ron, doesn't this work on the whole house? Yes, it does, but there was a problem when we used it in the kitchen. And this is a problem with the iRobot Roomba line. And one of it is it's a big machine. The height is very high. And I'll show you the comparison and some of the solutions I had. But the physical size of the Roomba vacuum is very tall and it's big. And it has trouble getting in certain locations and got into some big trouble in our kitchen. So let's look in our kitchen and see the problem I had using it. Well, if you look on our counter, you'll see the lip by the floor there. It's not level. And the robotic Roomba vacuum would go down underneath the counter, as you see here, but it's not level. In other words, the counter's level, but whether the floor or the cabinets weren't level, and the distance between the bottom of the counter and the floor gets less as you go down the room. So what happened is the robotic vacuum would go down and keep close in there and get stuck because it would wedge itself in. So when I would come back, of course, it would be stuck and didn't complete the job. And the second problem was, as you can see here, it wouldn't go under our chairs. So for that reason, I decided to look for another type of robotic vacuum that actually was slimmer. And I think that's something you must consider in the future when you're looking for vacuums, is I like it to be slimmer and smaller than the Roomba. The Roomba is a great vacuum, but it's a big clunk. Now, as you probably know, last year, Amazon has now purchased Roomba, and I expect there'll be a lot of changes to the product because they haven't really changed the physical size of it since its inception. Now let's look at our kitchen and dining room area. For this, I use vacuum number 4. This is made by a company called WYZE. It's actually a lot like the image you just saw on the Amazon purchase. So it does a great job. It runs around our kitchen. It goes under the chairs and under the lip of the counter. Not a problem. But there's certain areas I don't want it to go into. And so you can see here, I just cut a 2x4 up. You can buy them for about $3 at Home Depot. Just cut them up and use them as barriers. I find this the easiest way, and we'll talk a little bit about this when we go downstairs. Now, the first thing that you're going to find when you use vacuums is there's certain areas you don't want them to go into. And over the years, we've looked at a lot of different processes, a lot of different features. So on the Roomba, for example, with my Roomba came these two devices that are laser pointers, and you turn them on and they will point a line and the vacuum will pass that line. So it's an easy way of deciding when you're trying to run these machines as to where you want them to go. Other companies have magnetic strips. You put them on the floor and they won't cross over. So while you're figuring out how you're going to run your vacuums, there are obviously certain areas you don't want them to go. Also, we did have one little oopsie when one did go down the stairs, so I always put, as you see here, a board so it won't go down the stairs. By and large, we're happy with this. So the Roomba does the bedroom and the bathroom, and the Eufy does the kitchen and dining room area. So let's look at what we've just discussed. The first issue is home preparation, and I can't emphasize how important this is. In this diagram, you'll see that all our electrical outlets the cords are up off the floor, so we don't have any oopses with the vacuums. The second issue is you'll really want to look at the size and features you want, and Vacuum Wars can help you with that. And the third thing that you need to decide is how you're going to compartmentalize and decide where you want the vacuums to actually work. And that's where I wanted to talk to you about the feature with vacuums that you must have. And that is a software feature. So this was usually just found on very expensive vacuums. And Roomba in the early stages didn't have this, but they put it on their very high-end vacuums. It is the ability in the app, because all these vacuums will run on an app on your phone, is the ability for the robot vacuum to map your house. In fact, the robot will go around and create a digital map with all the rooms. Some of them do multiple floors of your house. You then have the option of putting no-go zones into different areas you want the vacuum to go. And as you saw in my video today, a lot of the issues I had were the chairs, the counter lip, and the stairs all are a problem with the zones I don't want the vacuum to go. You'll see in this picture, this is a couch down in our this is a couch down in our sunroom, and underneath you'll see that it is a pull-out bed. Well, the springs go pretty low to the ground, so the vacuum always gets stuck under there. So I've put, of course, a 2x4 there so it won't go under. Again, all these issues get solved if you have the no-go zone feature in the software on your phone app. This is so important. And now it is on so many vacuums, and even the lower price vacuums are putting this on. And that was the problem with the Amazon slide I showed you at the very beginning. That actually was an old model that Eufy had. Yes, it is on for 30% off. Yes, it's got some great features, but it's missing that no-go zone feature. That's so important. If you're going to buy a vacuum, make absolutely sure. Both the models, the Shark and the Roomba that are sold at Costco locally here, don't have that feature. But it is a very common feature on any vacuum that's made in 2023. I wanted you to be aware of that so that you make your best purchase decision, because that is the most important feature that I think that you need in a vacuum. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I sure had a lot of fun making it. Please give us that like and subscribe.
Do you own a WYZE doorbell? Did you know that it can notify you via your phone when someone rings the doorbell? A great feature if you happen to be away from home but would like to know who's at your front door. If you're home, you don't need this, but when you're away from home, it's a great way to keep an eye on what's happening at home even though you aren't there. This works through VoIP, Voice over IP protocol, but you have to make some changes to your WYZE settings. Let's go through it and let me show you how that's done. Open your WYZE app. When it opens, go to Account, Once account opens, the next thing we want is notifications. Once this opens, we want push notifications. And once this opens, we're looking for voice over IP. Select it. You're going to find this off. Turn it on. The second part, ignore notification status, really makes no difference. That can be on or off. Once this is done, the next thing you might also want to do is to set up a schedule. You'll notice mine is set up from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Since I'm using this only when I'm not at home, I really don't want to be bothered with a phone call to let me know somebody's at the door earlier than 6 in the morning or later than 10 at night. That's where my WYZE home monitoring comes in, because if somebody's at the front door during those hours, they're probably trying to break in, and that's where WYZE will come in with my home monitoring, and they'll get the cops out there. So set up a schedule so when you're away from home and you use this, it doesn't bug you when you're not normally awake. You can adjust this to whatever is convenient for you. Once these settings have been made up, the next thing is to test and see how this works. So let me go back home to the home screen, and I'm going to go to the front door and ring the bell, and then we'll see what happens. My front door is ringing on my phone. Let me answer it and see who it is. And there's the front door. 3:21 p.m. was when I rang it. Voice over IP is working to notify me. And I guess that gives you the answer. It works like a charm. So when you're away from home, set this up, and when somebody gets to the doorbell, you'll know who was there, when they were there. You can even check the live view of the doorbell at any time when this is open. I was interested in at the time somebody rang the doorbell, which is automatically recorded anytime someone rings that doorbell. That's how easy it is. Hope it helps. Stay safe, stay secure. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
8 SSD myths and misconceptions people still believe. My thanks to Jason Fitzpatrick for his article and the inspiration for this video. You'll find his article at the link listed. SSDs are too expensive when compared to their mechanical hard drive counterparts. Solid-state drives still cost more per gigabyte of storage. It's true. If you haven't gone parts shopping recently, you might still think that SSDs are a too costly upgrade you should skip. Fortunately, the days of spending $200 on a drive barely big enough to install Windows on are long behind us. Unless you have significant storage needs that require a multi-terabyte mechanical hard drive, like those used for network-attached storage, the days of SSDs being too expensive are long gone. SSDs wear out quickly. We have plenty of data to work with, and the data from punishing SSD use in data center indicates they last a very long time. Realistically, your SSD will outlive your computer and perhaps several upgrades. On a personal note, I've been using SSDs as my primary OS drivers for many years, and I have yet to have a drive die. Hibernation mode ruins SSDs. Hibernation takes the active content of your system's RAM and writes them to disk so that when you resume using the computer later, the operating system can dump this hibernation file back into the memory, and it's like you never left. Daily hibernation of a PC shaves less than 1% per year off the TBW life of the drive. Whether you hibernate every time you stop using your computer for the day, put it to sleep, or turn it completely off, it just doesn't matter in the long run. SSDs are only good for fast boot times. Fast boot times aren't the only reason to use an SSD. They are faster, quieter, more energy efficient, produce less heat, and take up less space. They're great for gaming too. SSDs are also far more impact resistant. It's not great to drop your laptop at all, but at least with an SSD, you have a storage drive with no moving parts to get jarred around. It's a hassle to swap an HD drive for an SSD. Today, SSDs are treated as the default, and migrating from an HDD to an SSD is unbelievably simple to do with free software tools. So simple, in fact, that you can do it in under an hour. SSDs require optimization. Windows has automatically optimized SSD usage for years now. And to do this, you don't have to disable or enable features or optimize anything. And you definitely don't need to defragment. Trim is an SSD-only function that optimizes data deletion to extend drive life. And it's turned on by default. You need to overwrite to wipe SSDs securely. Trim isn't a secure delete tool, but by the nature of how it functions, it might as well be, as it makes it extremely difficult to recover data from the disk. Some motherboards have an SSD erase tool built into the BIOS, and most manufacturers have a manufacturer-supplied secure erase tool, such as Samsung's Magician software. These tools interact with the drive at the controller level and erase the storage cells without imposing unnecessary writes. SSDs data if you don't power them on frequently. Since the average consumer is not writing petabytes of data to an SSD and then storing it at high temperatures, so there's little to worry about. Consumer-grade drives are designed specifically with the understanding that they will not be powered on all the time and may be stored for extended periods. Practically speaking, it's far more likely your computer will be lost, stolen, damaged, or outright replaced before you run into a situation where the disk has been powered off so long you lose data. I personally can't think of any improvement that you can make to an older computer that will have a greater impact than an upgrade to an SSD drive. If you still have an old clunker that takes forever to boot, do yourself a favor and change over to an SSD drive. Stay safe, stay secure. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, and thanks for listening and watching.